The courtroom was running behind schedule that morning. Another case added to an already long docket. The judge adjusted his glasses and glanced down at the file in front of him. He had been on the bench for over 20 years. Long enough to stop seeing faces and start seeing patterns. The defendant's name was Evan Brooks, 22 years old, charged with aggravated robbery. The judge exhaled quietly. A young defendant, a serious charge. Nothing new. Evan stood at the defense table with his hands folded, shoulders tight. He hadn't slept much the night before, not because he feared prison, but because he feared not being believed. The prosecutor finished summarizing the case. Security footage, a witness identification, a prior arrest for trespassing when Evan was 16. It wasn't a strong case, but it wasn't weak enough to dismiss outright. The judge finally looked up and asked if Evan had anything to say before the court ruled. Evan hesitated, then said that he did. His voice was steady, but quiet. He said he didn't rob anyone and that he was at work that night. He explained that his manager had confirmed it verbally, but no one had followed up. The judge flipped through the file and replied that the statement had been noted, but there was no written verification. Evan swallowed and said that he grew up in foster care, had worked since he was 15, and didn't have anyone to speak on his behalf. He said he wouldn't do this, not this. The judge leaned back in his chair. He had heard stories like this hundreds of times. Broken homes, bad luck, hard beginnings. He said the court had to rule on evidence, not circumstances. Evan nodded, then added something unexpected. He said his mom used to say that too. The judge paused, not because of the words, but because of the way Evan said them. Almost casually, almost familiar. The judge looked at Evan more closely this time. The same dark eyes, the same crease between the eyebrows when concentrating. The distraction irritated him. He said that the comment was irrelevant. Evan took a breath and said his mother died when he was 6. He said she told him his father was a lawyer and that he never knew about him. The courtroom stayed quiet. Not tense, just attentive. The judge closed the file and said this was not the time for personal stories. Evan nodded again and said he knew. He just wanted to say it out loud once. Something shifted. The judge felt it, though he couldn't explain why. He cleared his throat and said the court found the evidence met the standard for conviction. Evan's shoulders dropped slightly. Then the judge paused and added one word, however. He said there were inconsistencies in the timeline that concerned him, and that the defense's failure to verify employment was troubling. After another pause, he ordered a 30-day continuance. He said he wanted the alibi verified and the footage reviewed again. A quiet murmur passed through the courtroom. Evan looked up and thanked him. The judge nodded once. As Evan was led out, the judge remained seated. That night, the judge did something he hadn't done in years. He opened an old box in his closet. Inside were letters, unsent and unanswered. One name appeared again and again. Rachel Brooks. His chest tightened. The next day, he quietly requested Evan's birth records. The dates lined up, too perfectly. A week later, the alibi checked out. The footage proved inconclusive. The witness recanted. The charges were dismissed. The judge never spoke to Evan outside the courtroom. He never explained. He never asked for forgiveness. But at the dismissal hearing, as Evan turned to leave, the judge spoke once more. He told him to live carefully and not to assume the world already knew who he was. Evan nodded. He didn't know why those words stayed with him, only that they did. The judge watched him walk away, knowing the harshest judgment he had ever passed wasn't delivered in that courtroom.